Muted.
Good afternoon. Welcome to LEWCO's webinar on chain-driven live roller conveyors and transfer 101. My name is Miguel Armendariz, and I am one of the technical sales associates here at LEWCO. My associate, Jason Fresh, will be handling the chat room, so if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to tap him out and he will gladly help you out with anything like that. Let's go ahead and get started here. Here you can see just a drawing of a CDLR system, chain-driven live roller conveyor system. A little bit complex. It includes a lot of the things that we will be talking about today, the chain-driven live transfer, the transfers here, the CDLR itself. You see there are several transfers here, chain-driven live transfers on here. Okay, what we will be going over today will be chain-driven live roller conveyors, pop-up transfers, transfer cars, where and when to use these type of conveyors, information regarding applications, and also our features and benefits. As far as applications are concerned, these types of conveyors can be found in a variety of industries, as you can read there: warehouse distribution, manufacturing, order fulfillment, aerospace, government, military agencies, automotive, parcel handling, appliance, cabinetry, furniture, food and beverage. Now, when it comes to parcel handling, we have to be careful. We want to make sure that you understand that it's not necessarily the small parcels that are like 50 pounds or less or anything like that that can be conveyed on the CDLR. They can be, but we do have more economical solutions for packages that are that small, that are, quote, UPS-able, more than likely line shaft or belt. So this is definitely for your more heavy-duty type product. We're going to start off talking about chain roller conveyors first. Okay, our chain roller conveyors come in our standard sizes. A lot of you know what our gravity conveyor sizes are: 1.9, 2.5, and 3.5 inch diameter rollers in a variety of gauges. The roller centers, they can be manufactured in 3 inch, 4.5, 6, 9, and 12 inch roller centers. We do have to be careful about the distance between the roller centers on some of the larger roller diameters, because that will drastically modify the design. You won't have a single chain box on one side, but you will actually end up changing the design to a dual box where there's sprocketed rollers on both sides. You'll see a chain box on both sides, and obviously it makes everything a little bit wider and everything. And so we do have other solutions for that. If we need to have the rollers close together, a lot of times people want to do that for the plastic pallets that have like pod style feet. They try to get the rollers in as close together as possible, and we do have other solutions that are economical than just going to a dual chain box. But everybody's different, and we'll decide on the design based off of the application and the customers. Our effective width, which is basically the actual conveying surface of the roller itself, which is from the chain box over to the edge of the roller itself, can be anywhere from 6 to 84 inches, and again, that depends on the roller diameter. Our frame styles, just like in gravity conveyors, we can have the roller set high or the roller set low. Our roller covers, they can be our standard steel, galvanized, urethane, or even stainless steel as well. Same thing with our frame style. They can come in obviously powder-coated, galvanized, and also stainless steel as well. It all depends on the application. Now, as far as our roller chain applications, one thing we want to keep know is that we deal mostly with unitized or containerized style packages. One way to look at it is between the bottle, 6-pack, 12-pack case, and a pallet. As far as maybe liquids are concerned, we don't necessarily transport the single bottles, but it's got to be unitized, more like a 6-pack, 12-pack, a case, or even a pallet full is what we'd like to see used in roller chain applications. Now, one thing that's very important to realize, here we have a picture of a standard wooden pallet. We have runners going across here. Now, in the pallet load, when the bottom boards are perpendicular to the rollers, meaning the rollers are actually in this direction, that is called the right way. And that's why you can see if it is being conveyed in this direction, then we want to convey on rollers. If it's being conveyed in this direction, ideally we want to convey that on chains, and that's more of our multi-strand chain conveyors, which is another webinar coming later. We are able to accumulate loads on our CDLRs. We do have the capabilities of putting in photo eyes, depending. We have a accumulating style conveyor that we like to use from 5 to, for any zones that are, if we have more than 5 zones, we like to use the accumulating conveyor. Anything less than that, it's more economical and easier to control if you actually just have separate conveyor systems. Like if you have 4 CDLRs all in a row, each with its own motor, as opposed to one motor using the clutch style start and stop and go on the accumulating conveyor. Obviously, we can load from the side, loading or unloading on there. You want to make sure that the load is aligned. That's not, cockeyed or anything like that. Everything's in a nice straight line. Again, this is a very important graphic here to make a choice on whether you're going to be using a CDLR, whether you're going to actually be using, even if it's just a gravity conveyor, or it's going to be on rollers, and which would deal with chains. Now, regarding spare parts and important information when it comes to CDLRs and chain-driven live rollers. Important information to have. I can tell you 2 things that you can ignore, basically. You can ignore the tube length and ignore the axle length. Those will be calculated based off of LEWCO's calculated standards, based off of the information that we would be requesting. Your between frame dimension, just like on a gravity conveyor, is on the inside of the frames. This is what I had mentioned before was the effective width, where it's on the inside of the chain box to the inside edge of the frame. That is what's called the effective width, and that is basically determined by the size of the product that you will be conveying. Another important dimension to know, especially if you're dealing with for purchasing spare parts from somebody else's conveyor, is the inside of the frame for the first sprocket, the width of the sprocket itself, the distance, the inside distance between the sprockets, that's handy to know, and also the overall roller length, which is basically bearing to bearing, is also known as the bearing to bearing dimension. Okay, so those are important information to have if you need to order a spare part or know what's going on. Ideally, if it is a LEWCO conveyor, if you just know the serial number of it and just tell us what part you need, then we can go from there and get you the correct part. We touched on this a little bit regarding roller centers, 3, 4.5, 6, 9, and 12. Again, everything is based off of the diameter of the roller and how much room we have. As you can tell, if we go with a 3-inch and we have a 2.5-inch diameter roller, we do have to be careful because the 2 sprockets are going to be hitting each other if they both have sprockets on the same side. That's why we alternate and go with the dual chain box and have sprockets on one side, alternatively sprockets on the other. So that way it alternates and you have room to do this. But again, that's expensive, and we do have other ways of conveying your product. Sometimes we can't get away from it and we have to deal with it. So again, we'll look at that based off of your application. I think I forgot to mention, but one thing that's important to know when you are conveying product on a conveyor, and this is not just a CDLR, but also a gravity conveyor as well, you want to make sure you have 3 rollers underneath the product at all times. As you can tell by a graphic up above, this will convey nice and smooth. There's the 3 rollers that are minimum required to keep everything nice and straight in a line. Here you see that the roller centers on the bottom graphic are more separated and larger than what we really want for a product of this size. And what's going to happen is it's going to start tipping and it's going to stop. And that's not a good thing to happen, because the reason you have a conveyor is you want to convey it nice and smooth. So you want to make sure and keep and maintain this rule. It's an important rule. 3 rollers under your product at all times. And that includes for gravity conveyors as well. Next, we will be talking about curves, our straight chain roller curves. There's 2 versions. There's the straight and there is the tapered. We'll talk a little bit about the difference here. In this particular straight one, and this does not look like it's a 90 degree, it looks like it's more of a 45 or 30. As you can tell, the chain box is on the outside, and this is a straight. The roller is straight. There is no taper. It's the same diameter from one end to the other. Obviously, the sprockets are underneath the chain guard there. One thing to keep in mind here, this is best used to convey products with a round bottom, things that are circular or cylindrical in shape, like a barrel. Because if this were to convey a box, let's say, by the time it comes off the end of the curve, it will not be oriented the same way as when it got loaded. It will actually twist and turn a little bit, and it's not going to be facing the same way it was when it came onto the curve. If orientation of the product is important and you want it to remain the same throughout the curve, you want to go to a tapered chain roller curve, where the chain box is actually powered on the inside, and you can tell these are tapered. The diameter on the inside radius is different than on the outside radius. This maintains the orientation of the product as it goes through the curve. Much, much better than it would with the straight conveyor. So keep that in mind. Next, we will be talking about pop-up transfers. Excuse me. We have 2 different designs, internal and external designs. And just to show briefly, this is the external design, and this particular one is the internal design. So as you can see, the chain does not extend beyond the frame, whereas on the external it does. And the reason you would need to make a decision which design you would like is based off of the size of material that you're actually being conveyed. If it can handle the small gap from one to another conveyor, then you can go with the internal. Pallets are usually shouldn't have a problem with this. If there is going to be a problem, then what we want to do, we want to go with the external design. One thing that another design that we have is a transfer from one lane to another, or it can just transfer to another conveyor. The product would come in. This is just a smaller CDLR version. And then what would happen when it gets here, something would trigger the pop-up transfers. Pop-up transfer would pop up and chains would come and engage and transfer the product 90 degrees onto another conveyor, onto another CDLR, another gravity conveyor, whatever it needs to be conveyed on. These come in a capacity of 1,500 to 4,000 pounds. So please keep that in mind. There are capacity limits on these, and these are our standard designs. Our pop-up transfers. We had mentioned before in the past about lane transfers. This is a cross-lane chain transfer. CDLR would, this is a smaller CDLR, would be connected to this. Chains would pop up. These are the chains right here. This is actually a 3-strand chain transfer. Chain transfer would pop up, transfer it to the other lane, and then go in one direction or the other. And that's called the lane transfer. The effective width, if you recall, start from the chain box to the inside edge of the conveyor. Go from 31 to 61 inches. Our standard length, minimum length is 60 inches. That's to accommodate the motors and the pop-ups. Strands, They can be anywhere from 2, 3, or 4 strands based off of the design of the bottom of the product that you're conveying. Chain centers 12 to 48. Again, it's all based off of your bottom of your items that you're conveying. Elevation, we need a minimum of 12 inches, not only for the motors, as you can see here off to the side, but also for the lift blocks that we have underneath the conveying surface. So that way it gives us room to pop these chains up and get your product moving. So there are limitations on these things. And all these limitations are listed in our reference drawings that are on our website under products, the conveyor products, and chain-driven live rollers. Next we'll be talking about transfer cars. Now there's several types of transfer cars that are available. Powered, non-powered, and pass-through. Now, I'll go ahead and read this to you. The non-powered transfer cars basically have a manual method of moving the loads between parallel conveyor lanes. Next graphic will show you what I mean by that. They can be confined to a track with definitive end stops to locate a position, or be fitted with swivel and rigid casters for free moving method of transporting. The powered transfer cars, they have the same process, but they just have a motor on it and convey the heavier products that can't be moved by human strength. Our transfer cars allows the product to be moved from one lane to another that's parallel within the system, and that comes with powered or non-powered option as well. And then we have a pass-through transfer that actually crosses an aisleway, and that's for a conveying line that's basically in line with the other system. And here you'll see pictures and diagrams of various transfer cars. We have the pass-through cars, and this is the manual one, and this is the powered version. As you can see, the wheel, where the handle is, this gets pushed across in this direction. The product conveys in this direction, stops, gets conveyed and crossed over to another conveyor that is parallel to the existing. And same thing here. The product comes on board and gets transferred across 90 degrees to another cross-lane conveyor. This is a pass-through, and normally where we can push it from one aisle to the other, basically, that's conveying these wheels actually should be turning in this direction. This is actually a powered version of the pass-through. And again, here you see the illustration of the tracks, and then these are the swivel wheels, and these are the types of wheels that we use whenever we use our tracks. But as you can tell, the product comes on board from another CDLR or gravity conveyor, gets onto our conveyor, gets transported straight on through another conveyor, and that keeps this area open while it's being conveyed. Here is going to be a demonstration of basically it's a custom transfer car that also uses a chain-driven live roller. This is a little bit on the fancy side. You'll see a little pivot action going on, but it gives you a quick overview and demonstration of what the capabilities of LEWCO are here. As you can see, the transfer car is being over. Once it stops and hits its mark, it's conveyed onto the other CDLR. The other CDLR system, the transfer car continues on its way, it pivots, transferred onto another CDLR. Now that is just one example of our capabilities here at LEWCO, we have a variety of videos and drawings that are available on our website, so please keep that in mind. And speaking of our website, one thing that you have access to, and if you don't have access to, you can let us know, is we have a customer portal that allows you to basically quote out standard conveying systems, not just CDLRs, but also gravity belt conveyors as well, flat conveyors, steel hinge, all of our product lines. It's called our LEWCO customer portal system. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to get back to your customer quicker than waiting for us to get back with you with a quote. I know sometimes it can be overwhelming, get a little bit behind. But this basically controls, you can quote out standard items on our website, and you can get back to your customer, especially if your customer, and I know this rarely happens, your customer asks for a quote, gets a quote, then all of a sudden you have to do some type of revision to it. And instead of picking up the phone and calling us, it's something that you can actually modify yourself right then and there on the website, and get it back to them even quicker. So don't be afraid to give us a call and contact Conveyor Sales at LEWCOinc.com. Send us an email. Tell us that you would like to have access to our LEWCO customer portal quoting system, and we will get it over to you right away with a username and a password. Please keep in mind that there will be future webinars here at LEWCO. We will be talking about poly-V, 24-volt systems, belt conveyor, slats, and steel hinge. It's just a few of the things that we will be conducting webinars on in the future. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day this afternoon, and hopefully you came up with a little bit of knowledge about conveyors and chain-driven live rollers. We do have other webinars that are available on our website regarding the benefits of LEWCO, rollers, and even how to use the customer portal. So when you do ask for your password and username to use the customer portal, please go onto the webinar on how to use the customer portal. It'll save you a lot of questions and calling in. Obviously, we're here to help you out at any time, but let's see what we can do, and go ahead and look at that webinar, absorb what you can, and give us a holler if you have any questions. Again, my name is Miguel Armendariz. I appreciate your time this afternoon. Give us a holler if you need any help. Keep those requests for quotes coming, and also the orders. We'd really appreciate it. Have yourself a great afternoon. Thank you again.